they're keeping people thinking rich and eating poor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, that's what they're feeding.
Well, people are sick of that. About the Wall Street movement is the exact same thing. These very few people make a bunch of money off the taxpayer, and when the taxpayer loses his house, who's going to bail him out? Nobody. But when they use up all the money and then they go under, the taxpayer bails them out. Yeah. You and I know that.
Yeah. Well, the media has a big impact. I think now, mathematically, I think that the EDC has done a good job because it's an organizational structure, unlike Salomon's organization. They create all these nonprofits. They sit on all these nonprofits because they end up getting the business. A lot of the businessmen that are there, they end up controlling the nonprofit dollars.
Yeah, and you put quotations on nonprofits.
People like Carol Scott.
People are making profits off the nonprofits.
Her marketing company getting all. Getting all the business. Later, they pressure Citgo. They pressure the Account for American Bank. Here you have.
And her sitting official, husband?
And her husband
is making money.
Making money.
You know they're making money. She sits on
the school board.
Yes.
You know. Well, the horrible thing about now in the county is you have a single organization at the county level operated with taxpayers' dollars, recruiting people from their nonprofits to run for the city, to run for different. Now they're taking over the Del Mar border regions, running for the school board. They're trying to take all the media entities over.
A shameless conflict of interest.
Because that's where the taxpayer dollars are.
Shameless, and it's not rock throwing. I'm a very reasonable man. I'm a lawyer. I know the law. I work within it. I work with the feds. I work with the state. I've worked with the AG. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen out there, your taxpayer dollars are being raped.
You know, the silly thing is that recently this guy ran for the school board, won with that organization, and they put him, I think, in the curriculum committee. He had an opportunity to help the kids. You know what they learn. You know what I mean? Now he wanted to be in. He wanted to be more into where the contracts are.
Oh, yeah.
Some other committee that had nothing to do with schooling and education and
because he wanted money.
Because and you sort of see their agenda right away. But the sad thing is that in a way, the Ortiz machine played a functional role. At least there was some competition.
Well, and the Ortiz machine kept that base open, and people are saying they were always complaining about Salomon and everything. Be careful what you ask for. He kept a lot of those jobs there, and at least he was a voice for the Hispanic community that wouldn't be crunched and run over like these guys now are exercising their power with impunity. They are getting in the political candidates they want, and they're using taxpayer dollars to do it.
Well, the thing is, the reality, you know, zooming in this corner of the planet to reality is that Hispanics are multiplying in numbers at an incredible rate, more than we expected.
Register.
And, you know, here you have an economic crisis. Here you have several variables that place people at ease. You know, uneat ease. And what I'm saying is it requires a certain politico, and that politico is one where he'll be able to mobilize the base if he taps into some of the themes, recurring themes in the community that carry emotional weight. He'll be able to mobilize an organization quickly. I think Carlos pointed something out about his station, KTMV, is that you know, Hispanics now culturally serves as a basis of organization.
Oh, you better believe it.
Culture is becoming a mobilizing base. That's why you have people like Abel Alonso, like Roland Garza, like Susie, like many other individuals.
We were Mexican when Mexican wasn't cool. Remember? You know, right. Now it's cool. Hispanic votes.
Yeah. You know, they need a voice. They're becoming personalities overnight. Very powerful.
Very powerful.
Sort of reminds me of the rock movement where you had these puny individuals that were nerds in their school, but when they got that electric guitar in the stage, they became like superstars.
Yeah.
You know, because something is happening. So you can't take an election for granted anymore. You're gonna have to.
Well, you can't take the Hispanic vote for granted anymore.
You're
Bottom line.
you're gonna have to learn how to win an election. You're gonna have to, and in the end, it's not about the marketing. It's about getting people to the polls, getting them to vote in numbers, getting that 15-20% from this neighborhood, that neighborhood. And if you're really smart, your structure as to running a campaign is going to change. This is South Texas. The old models of running a campaign just don't seem to work here. People say, "Well, what's wrong with the formula?" I had this politico tell me in one of the past elections, he was all wrong. He said, "Well, look at my computer, Homer. I'm using this new statistic program called Oracle, or I don't know, and it predicts that so-and-so is going to win, and that Judge Jack was going to lose, and blah, blah, blah." And I go, "Well, I don't know, man. I mean, computers don't register Indians, you know."
Yeah.
And, my remark was, this is South Texas. There's several other variables that had not been identified by social scientists, by Mr. Bestick and others at the universities that I think more research needs to be done. But it's going to be very interesting because I really want to see politicos now face an audience more than ever, face an unstructured audience. You do have your Tea Partiers, but they've been stamped and labeled. You know who they are. You know what they stand for. They're being funded by certain interest groups, but and a lot of the people inside those organizations, like the Tea Party, are sincere. But it does have Nazi influence, neo-Nazi influence. You have the president of the John Bircher, shamelessly. There's guys that believe in bringing back segregation, ladies and gentlemen. People that were against Brown versus Ferguson.
Yeah, I mean, locally, Tea Party is great. I met some people, and they have some great fundamental beliefs, but they've got to look who's funding them. And it's ultra-right conservatives and hate
you
groups.
have some very dangerous. You have skinheads now.
In the Tea Party. Organization. I mean, brothers and sisters. I mean, if you're in that and you're a moderate white and you're not a racist, you got to be real careful about being in that group.
And they're saying, "Well, we're for Western culture." Well, neo-Nazis.
Exactly. And look at all the hate and everything. We got a couple of minutes left, but look at all the hate that's been thrown against Hispanics and spewed against us.
Joe, and just to put everything
40 million of us, we're not going away.
There's one race, and I tell my brothers and sisters in the barrios where I come from, the humble roots is, there's just one race, and that's the human race.
Amen.
We're all equal. This is beautiful, South Texas. The best from the north, the best from the south, the tacos with hamburgers, the music that is so beautiful. But what we need is a level of tolerance. We need a level of sensitivity. The old structures of the south side and the north side, those walls need to be bring down. We need more sensitivity. We need the old callousness of institutions, of walking inside into a hospital. I went inside one of the local hospitals here. I want to talk, but the nurses were extremely distant and cold, and maybe, I don't know. I
think that is.
I walk into Memorial, it's a little bit more warm, but I walk into certain hospitals, and I got to tell you, I get. I feel something, a certain energy that a bet onus,
Well, and I'm just telling you that because corporations are more and more owning, like Spawn became corporate. And when I worked there back when dinosaurs roamed the earth in the early 90s and up to the late 90s, it really went downhill, in my opinion, because the nonprofit corporation, whatever, it's for profit, and they respond to Dallas, and it's not family owned and operated anymore. When Sister Kathleen ran Spawn, it was a whole different kettle of fish. Now it's about CEOs, about profit margins. The nurses are overworked, understaffed, And I'm just telling you, I'm a very big advocate for healthcare and RNs and LVNs and the nursing community, the biggest workforce in the world and the most trusted. Rand Morgan said time and time again, except for 9/11, 2001, nurses were the most trusted profession. I'm proud to be a licensed RN and advanced practice nurse in Texas. And let me tell you, that's true. And that's a sign of corporate America with their thumb on the workforce.
Yeah.
And so you're right. But I mean, we could go on and on.
The contradiction is that over 75% of the jobs in Corpus Christi, they're not provided, but they're not by big corporations. They're provided by the small business. And that's the latest stats that we have.
It's
from
small business corporations that are trying to rule Corpus, and the marriage of these corporate entities.
And they're all catering to them.
Yeah,
they cater all the
catering
resources to them.
Yeah, they're saying, okay, we're going to bring in this corporation, but we're running out of time. You got to come back. But first and foremost, quiero dar gracias a toda mi audiencia que está mirando a South Texas Crossfire y también recordándolos que registra a votar. Su voto es su voz. Y recordándolos que el Partido Demócrata no es el partido del pobre, es el partido de justicia social. Remember all that voting and getting registered to vote is very important. Quiero dar gracias a toda mi raza. Los quiero mucho. And Homero Villarreal right here, the interview of High Impact, starting the political season off. Don't forget our sponsor, River City Hospice. Everybody out there, if you have a family member with Alzheimer's, if you have a family member with cancer or with lung disease or heart disease or unexplained weight loss, get on the phone right now and learn more about hospice. You're missing out on a big benefit where somebody can receive quality care at home and not have to sit in doctor's offices, not be in hospitals all the time. 882-5900, 882-5900. We're running out of time. Homero, I want to thank you for being in. El Defensor, and if you want to buy advertising time, you know what time it is. And what is the number to contact if anybody wants to advertise with El Defensor?
461-5968.
You heard it, and visit him on his blogspot, www.eldefensor.blogspot.com. We're running out of time. Thank you, and God bless.